This is Austin Meyer, and I'm doing my informative speech on Tim Duncan's decision on retiring. Next slide, please. So let's picture this. You're a professional basketball player, and you're extremely athletic. You're a power forward. You've been called a legend in the NBA for quite a long time now, and you just won your 5th NBA championship. Now, if you're a big sports fan and you love watching all your favorite teams every year and seeing, watching and catching up with your favorite players and seeing how they're doing, this will definitely catch your interest. Tim Duncan is trying to choose if he's going to retire or not. He just won his 5th championship, but he is 38 years old, and that's at a certain age where you're getting pretty old for the NBA. Usually the average age is about 35 when players start to retire. After doing some research, I see that Tim Duncan has many reasons to retire, and he doesn't have many reasons to stay in the NBA. And today I would just like to discuss the different options Tim Duncan has as retirement does loom in his near future, and why he would favor either retiring or not retiring, and staying in the NBA with his teammates. So, for one reason, Tim Duncan could stay in the NBA. It's the team camaraderie. The team aspect is a big thing for all players in any sport, and you can build that brotherhood with many friends of yours and fellow athletes. Next slide. Tim Duncan has been on the same team his whole career. This is a picture of him hugging Tony Parker, one of his teammates for 13 seasons, 13 of his 17 seasons in the NBA. And he's also been one of 3 players in the NBA to win a championship 15 years apart from another championship of his. And that's a statistic by Dan Feldman and an article written by him in NBC Sports. Also, Tim Duncan has 3 championships with Manu Ginobili and Tony Parker. They are called the Big Three, and they've played together for 12 years now. Tim Duncan has a new teammate, and his name is Kawhi Leonard. He had just won the Finals MVP this year when they won the championship. Many people are seeing him as an up-and-coming superstar in the league. And Dan Feldman, in his article, also agrees that that's another big reason why Tim Duncan could stay. If he comes back, he's got a lot of teammates there that are good and solid pieces to that team, and they can make another run easily for next season's championship. And another quote by Dan Feldman in his article was, he said, Duncan has transcended eras, winning with David Robinson, which was his first teammate, in his first 3 years in the NBA, as his partner in crime when the guard attack led by Tony Parker and Manu Ginobili, and now Kawhi Leonard winning Finals MVP. They all all these people were on his team, and he found that, with this, he can now see that if he comes back next year, he's going to have a solid team. And Dan Feldman thinks so as well. And now that we've been able to talk about some reasons why Tim Duncan should stay with the team and not retire, let's look over some reasons why Tim Duncan should not retire. Or should retire, I should say. Well, Tim Duncan has really all the reasons in the world to retire. To start, he's 38 years old, like I stated in the beginning. He has gone over that limit for most average NBA players, and he's had knee problems, ankle injuries throughout his career, which they've talked about. They've given him rest throughout the season to make sure that he's resting his knees and ankles and those past injuries to make sure that they don't reoccur. Dan Feldman also compared Tim Duncan with his former teammate David Robinson, and he did it in a couple different ways. He said, Robinson was the last Hall of Famer to retire after a championship season, going out on top in 2003. Duncan could do the same thing this year. So, he could finish on top. That's one thing he could do. Wouldn't have to finish his career going through the playoffs or not even making the playoffs in his last season, or losing in the playoffs and just kind of having that sour taste in his mouth. Duncan, another quote by Dan Feldman is, like Robinson, Duncan remained a reliable contributor through his most recent season. Robinson hit several career lows in 2003, but dropping from such a high peak, he remained a reliable starter. Of the nine Hall of Famers who won a championship in their last season, none had played as efficiently as their final season in more than 30 years. And that was by Dan Feldman. That was on David Robinson. But he was writing that, attesting to Duncan as well, and how Duncan has been really efficient in his last season. And that's another it's a mental thing for him. It's knowing that he finished his last season being really effective. He didn't just end his career in the NBA because he wasn't doing well anymore and he wasn't effective. And so those are some reasons why he could stay in the NBA or leave. Also, I want to take a look at what Tim Duncan said and through some interview questions. So when Duncan was interviewed after his 5th NBA championship win, he had some conflicting comments about his future. So here are some quotes from Tim, and when he says, asked why he was especially emotional after this title, he said, just the close of a career. I know it's coming to an end. I don't know if I'll ever have a chance to do this again. That was by Dan Feldman in this article in NBC Sports. But then he also said later on, I've always said, as long as I feel I'm going to be effective, I'm going to want to play. And I still feel effective. So you have two sides to what he's thinking. He could stay because he still feels he's effective. But he also knows that he is getting older, and he knows that he probably won't be playing much longer, or this could be his last season. So, now to conclude this, as we look at the facts for Duncan's retirement situation, you can now see that Tim Duncan has a major choice to make, and has good reasons to go either way in retiring or not retiring. Will Tim Duncan choose to retire? I'm not sure myself. Dan Feldman seems to think so. He thinks that he will return next season. And, well, Dan Feldman thinks that former teammates' influence could make a major impact on Tim Duncan as well, though. But not to overpower his love and ability to play the game still. That's all. And these are my references. Thank you.